Do you love everything football? You've come to the right place. Welcome to Beyond the Touchline, a Football Manager Central podcast with your hosts, Paul, Ryan, and Colin.
What is going on, guys? Hope you're all well. It is the 22nd of February and we are back for another Beyond the Touchline. It is myself, Paul. We do not have Ryan with us this week. Unfortunately, he is absent. But we have a man sitting in his car in the middle, well, on the edge of the United States of America. How are you, Colin?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. You are in your car, ready to go to the cinema.
Yes, I am. So I figured I would double team because it was just, even though the cinema is close to my house, it was easier to just stop and record and do this and chat with you than it was to drive all the way home to drive all the way around. I am being environmentally conscious and saving gas.
Nice. If only your car wasn't a gas guzzler.
Well. Details.
Exactly. And plus we sound like a professional podcast radio station. They always have somebody on the phone to come in and talk about a specific subject. So right. You're going to be our expert for the evening. So we'll go on to topic one and we'll fly straight over the pond to chat with our expert. That is Colin. Good evening, sir.
How are you?
You've got to do two roles, the normal host and guest speaker.
Okay, I will do as best I can to be two people at once.
A Southern American accent at this point would be awesome. So, Colin, the question
I don't have
is...
in my arsenal.
Unbelievable. So, the MLS is it's closing in fast, sir.
Yes, we are 2 weeks away. So, March 6th is opening day of MLS. So, everybody plays the same day.
Are you... do you know what? I didn't even know that. You've just informed me of something new. I thought they would be split the Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
No, I believe this year's schedule has everybody playing on the same opening day. They're doing a special. I think they're calling it MLS Kicks Off. So they're doing a special opening, and then it goes into regular schedule, and then again they'll have everybody at the end of the season. They'll do the same as they did this time with. Everybody in the Eastern Conference playing at one point and everybody at the Western Conference playing at a second point to close out the season.
So that's on March the 6th, as you say, which is a Sunday. So, yep. Obviously, as we know, this podcast is huge in the MLS in the US, so no doubt the MLS owners will be listening.
Of course. I expect all the teams to be paying attention to us.
I would think so. So let's personally thank them for screwing my Monday morning up at work.
So this time your Monday won't be necessarily ruined. Are around 1, 2 o'clock in the afternoon Eastern time, so that should be what, about 9 o'clock, 8, 9 o'clock your time.
That's not too bad. It's the what do I watch, isn't it? That's the issue.
That'll definitely become tougher.
I mean, is there any games or any teams you're going to be recommending for teams you think are going to come out of the gates hot?
So I'm going to be at Red Bull Arena watching my Red Bulls open the season against Toronto FC and reigning MLS MVP Sebastian Giovinco.
Oh, that would be a good game.
I suspect that one will be a very good game. Toronto FC have a lot of promise to build on. They showed some flashes last year. But they have a lot to build on. They've always played the Red Bulls tough. I think this year the expectation with the Red Bulls is MLS Cup. Given the performances of the season, we're going to raise a new banner this year. So we are raising the banner of our Supporter Shield win last year at the stadium. So plenty of pics. I'll post on Twitter if you're following. Other teams interested this year. Montreal. The Impact have gotten a little dangerous. The pickup and the trade from Harry Shipp from Chicago sent some ripples around. I know he was disappointed to leave Chicago. He hasn't really shown, I think, his best just because of the Chicago Fire haven't been a particularly good team. So I think in Montreal he will have an opportunity to showcase better. So I'm looking forward to seeing how he plays there. And the Impact are a very good team. When they want to be, so hopefully he adds a little more consistency and they pick up things a little bit. Who else am I interested in seeing? Sporting Kansas City is always a tough team. I'm interested to see what they do this year. They're a good one to watch. I'm very interested in Houston. The Houston Dynamo have picked picked up a bunch of people over the last couple of seasons. I think they're ready to take a step up and be more of a conversation player in the Western Conference. I'm interested to see what another year's worth of development has done to FC Dallas. They have a very young, very homegrown team. Oscar Pereira, who manages down there, is really a big youth guy. So if you like seeing young player development, he's got a great squad. Mauro Diaz is probably one of the best attacking center mid playmakers in MLS. So if you really want to see some serious talent, he is one to watch. The LA Galaxy are one I'm going to have my eye on. I'm interested to see what happens with their sort of older guy strategy. So they brought in a few big names of slightly older vintage into the league this year. So it'll be interesting to see. I think they're gambling pretty hard with Bruce Arena on trying to win MLS Cup before Gerard's contract at the end of this season ends. And he goes into the great wide MLS yonder. And Nigel de Jong takes over his designated player slot next year. So it'll be interesting. Seattle's in a bit of a rebound year. So I know a lot of people look at the Sounders as a traditional powerhouse, but Obafemi Martin's now leaving to go to play in China. Marco Papa, who is a big midfield influence for them, has been traded to the Colorado Rapids. Clint Dempsey's kind of getting on a little bit. He's been playing a little deeper, not quite the same attacking threat he used to be. So it'll be interesting to see how they get on this year. I think it'll be a little more of a rebuild than the traditional year that we're used to seeing from them. Vancouver, from a U.S. men's national team perspective, Kakuna Mane picks up his U.S. citizenship, should be in March, which makes him eligible for the March U.S. qualifier. Very high on the U.S. list. So I'm very, very interested in seeing how he performs, especially since he dinged an ankle up at the end of last year. So hopefully he's in good condition and good shape because he has got some serious wheels. And then the other one that'll be big is it'll be interesting to see how the Portland Timbers come out and defend their MLS Cup. They are a dynamite team. Darlington Nagbe has been in fantastic form. He's looked very, very good in the U.S. national camps. So I think it'll be very, very interesting to see him and how they begin their title defense.
I think one of the points you pointed out was the De Jong taking over Gerard's DP slot.
Yeah.
See, I think you've got the attitude that I think a lot of Americans have, where you've been let down by Gerard and it's just kind of set he's going to be gone. I honestly think Gerard is going to tear the league apart this year. I think he's had a break, which he needed. He hadn't had a break for such a long time. And he's getting on to the point where he needs a break. And I think now he's had a break. He's had the full winter. He's had longer than normal. I think he's going to come back and absolutely smash it, Colin. I really do, because I don't think he's like Pirlo. I don't think he's like the older player who doesn't get about. I still think he can get about, and I still think he's got that special Gerard-ness about him.
I don't think he'll be bad early in the season. I suspect is when... So he hadn't been out in LA to play to really play May, June, July, August. He only got there in July. He didn't really come into the team until late July, and he played on and off in August. He didn't really play full time. Unfortunately, the Western Conference and those teams, you have a lot of travel, so time zones is going to definitely be an issue because you're doing it you're pretty much doing it week in and week out. But going to Dallas in is rough. It's 105, 110 out on that field. Going to Houston, playing in full mugginess, going to Kansas City. So I think there's a lot of other factors that I'm not sure he's really experienced fully yet. I think he'll be better than he was last year. Don't get me wrong, but I'm not 100% sure we're going to see the Stevie G of old in there. Now, don't get me wrong. I'd like to see it. I'd like to see him sort of play, spectacularly one more time before he sort of sails off into the sunset. But I'm not sure. I don't feel it. I think LA's time is coming to an end, and I think when this squad sort of ends, I think this represents sort of the end of the older DP sort of image of MLS. I think this is its last ride into the sunset.
Well, I think when you're bringing in a player on a small contract with the intention of giving him DP slot in a year's time, and that player is Nigel de Jong, you know you're getting near the struggling times, because that guy is not good enough now. In a year's time, I'm very interested to see exactly what kind of a disaster he is. And I actually hope he becomes the DP at LA Galaxy, with them building him up as the replacement for Gerrard in that DP slot, because they'll actually realise how good Gerrard was. Because De Jong's just not good enough. I don't understand why he would be taking up a slot with such a prestigious club like LA Galaxy.
So I think the rumors are that LA has an option. So Gerrard's contract's done at the end of the year, and my understanding is they've effectively promised him De Jong the DP spot, but I don't know if it's actually locked in the contract. So they may be able to get out of it if he doesn't perform this year. I genuinely don't understand. I think the 2015 season was a very, very big statement season for MLS. The most successful teams in MLS last season were, for the first time in as long as I can remember, were teams that specifically went against the older DP sort of retiree league philosophy, and really, really shown well. The Red Bulls, for the first time in their history, have finally went against that philosophy and looked better than I've ever seen them play. Dallas went out in the West and dominated the West on an absolutely almost pure homegrown type philosophy. They were pulling guys in from their academy. I mean, their starting goaltender is a 19-year-old academy product who is very high up in the Mexican youth international level. Jesse Gonzalez, really good goalkeeper. Even Portland is a bigger, younger, more homegrown piece in there. So I think the philosophy, that old school sort of retirement club philosophy, is dying in the league. And I'm really surprised that one of its biggest powerhouses has decided to kind of double down on it.
Well, I think an example of a club who didn't have huge success, but a club that kind of did it really well, in my opinion, was Orlando. Because they had Kaká, he puts bums on seats, and he's still very, very talented. But alongside him, they had them young, hungry people who, from minute 1 to minute 90, they were chasing you, they were pounding you down the pitch, they were forcing you into mistakes. And I think, as you said, the older DP people, and just the going for the experienced squad, they might have the head, they might have the ability, they might have the skill, but if you're getting hit for 90 minutes full on, you've got to back them young kids in a very fast league to, at some point, start to create stuff. And if they can keep the DPs quiet, they'll win the games.
And I think that's pretty much what, if you watch sort of last season, what happened in New York City FC, I think that's almost exactly what happened. Was everybody in the league, Lampard played on and off. He really didn't play very consistently. Villa took a while to get used to the speed of the league, and then once he got used to the speed of the league, he started to perform, and everybody just jumped on Pirlo. I don't think he'd been battered like that in his entire career.
Well, I think, I don't know about you, but when you think of Pirlo, you think of the guy who drops between the defence and midfield and picks it up and spreads the ball. But his main skill is basically standing there and passing the ball. Where I think when you think of Lampard, you think of them last-minute runs into the box. And I think Lampard's still got a good year in him. And again, like Gerrard, now he's had a rest, I think he could do quite a lot. But I genuinely think it's going to be another year like last year for Pirlo. If he just stands there and hopes to spread the ball about, the pace of the likes of Orlando's striker, that young kid who I've praised to you so many times.
Yes.
If he all he has to do is drop off instead of sitting on the defence. Just chase Pirlo. He'll get the ball and he'll be able to attack with it. There's too much pressure now. The MLS is like this isn't a disrespectful comment, and hopefully you agree. The MLS is like a poor version of the Premier League now. It's very hard paced.
Yeah, I would say.
Yeah, go on.
No, I would agree. I think that I think and it's been a big topic of conversation. I think the average MLS team is probably mid-table championship, but the upper echelon of MLS is probably, bottom third Premier League level. And it's hard. It's physical. It's fast. It moves. And, I think Pirlo is a great example of a guy 5 years ago, he would have come into MLS. I'll bet you he would have been dominant.
He would have been the best player in the league. No question about it. Right.
Because the league didn't move. And his time in Italy just stood off of him and let him watch, let him move the ball, see the field and do what he wanted to do. And now in MLS, he absolutely can't do that. They're all over him. I mean, in the 2 games we watched with the Red Bulls last year, if he had 2 seconds to breathe, it was a lot. And every time you saw him, McCarty, Felipe, Sasha Kleshchian, even the backs, if he was all, they were all, Bradley Wright Phillips, Sean Wright Phillips, they were all over him. And half the time you saw him picking himself up off the ground all the time. They'd get in there, push him shoulder to shoulder, pull the ball away. He'd be tackled hard. He was closed down hard. And you could see by the time he got into halftime, he had no interest in being out there anymore. He wandered around. He milled around. He was upset. He was frustrated, and you completely took him off his game. And I think he's absolutely in for another year of it because everybody's going to watch the tape of who was successful against him and replicate that all the time.
Definitely agree. I think this 2016 MLS is going to be huge. The league is getting better. I try to watch, as as much as I can. But last year my problem was my situation of how I had to watch it. In the fact that if it's past 9 o'clock online, I sit on the couch, I fall asleep. With my setup now, I can watch it sat up, wide awake, and I'm so excited for it. And to end the MLS discussion, something which I've discussed on my streams recently, and I haven't even told Colin yet. He's going to get told this live, so everybody's going to hear what Colin's going to be doing this year before Colin even gets to know about it. So are you braced, sir?
I am ready to go.
Every single home game for the New York Red Bulls that Colin attends will be blogged about on our website. It won't be a big blog, but it'll be exactly how I do, where each week I'm going to go and visit football in Norway. So I'm going to take a few pictures with my mobile, maybe with a camera, and what we're going to do this year on Football Manager Central, the real life football section's just going to have a little bit of a kick to it. And the kick to it is going to be kind of our view on football. What did we enjoy from the game? What did we see? What was it like going to the game, Colin? Did you stop for something to eat? Basically, the match day experience. And it'll be nice. Like I'm going to write about when I visited these low league grounds in Norway or the top division. What were they like? What was the everything from the food to the match day experience, the fans? What was the atmosphere like? And then our quick analysis on the game. So it's not going to be a massive read for people each week, but hopefully you'll check in and just kind of have a little bit of a feeling about the situation, about what's happening, and just maybe get other people to go and visit random football matches, for example. So I hope you like the idea of that, Colin.
No, absolutely. And I think, at least for me for this year, it'll be a lot of fun. So for the Red Bulls this year, we have, regular 17 league games. We also have the U.S. Open Cup. So for people who aren't familiar, our version of the FA Cup. Then we're trying, no promises, but I'm trying to get cheap tickets to go see the Copa America Centennial Final. They're playing that near me. So I'd like to try and get to see that, but no promises on that one. We always have some big international friendlies, so hopefully we get somebody coming in that's good to talk about. Last year was PSG and Fiorentina and Chelsea. And then also as a special this year, and we'll definitely blog about it, my Red Bulls are in the CONCACAF Champions League. So group stages will start in August. Draw should be in June or July. for that one. So we'll be more than happy to talk about that. So give you a little introduction to a little more of the region, things that are going on here, so you can get a little deeper understanding of football in my neck of the woods.
I think it would be awesome, and I think we want to try to make it unique and make people want to go and check out the blogging side of Beyond the Touchline. And I think one thing I think I'm going to strongly try to get, and it's going to be a challenge, and we might even set it as the one photo challenge between myself and Colin, is for yourself, Colin, would be a picture with a random fan, home or away. And the same for myself. When I go to the grounds, I'm going to get a picture with a fan from the club or a player. And just improve this. Beyond the Touchline's growing. There's a lot of people listening to it now each week, and I think it'd be really cool that you can kind of feel you're a part of the hosts, myself, Colin, and Ryan, if Ryan can get to some. Just the more we kind of blog or talk about what we've seen that week, the more you feel a part of it, I think. So hopefully you like that idea. Let us know in the comments below. Let us know what you'd want to see. Do you want to see the full match day? Do you want Colin taking a picture of a burger stand outside? Let us know what you think. I mean, personally, I think the full match day in the US would be awesome to kind of just get a behind-the-scenes look. Just force Colin to pull that phone out before he goes into the ground, just randomly take a picture.
Oh, of course. I will be more than happy to snap pictures on the walk up to the stadium and everything in. And game one, so blog number one for me, like I said, we're raising the Supporters Shield banner, so it'll be a good one. It should be a good experience.
I think it's going to be definitely exciting and something to look into. But I think it's time for you to jump on your airplane and head over to Europe, because we're going to talk about the FA Cup, Colin.
Okie dokie.
So the first thing we're going to talk about is just quickly go through the results, actually. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to fly through the FA Cup results. So we had Arsenal 0, Hull 0. So that's going to replay. The replay is going to be up in Hull. You got Reading 3, West Bromwich Albion 1. That's a game to discuss, but not for the right reasons. You got Watford 1, Leeds 0. Bournemouth 0, Everton 2. You have Blackburn 1, West Ham 5. Tottenham 0, Crystal Palace 1. Chelsea 5, Man City 1. And then the game which has been played this evening was Shrewsbury Town 0, Manchester United 3. And that flatters Manchester United, because what a dreadful game that was. But we're going to start by the Saturday, and I want to get the bad stuff out the way first, Colin. So the first discussion is the fact that after the Reading West Brom game, which Reading came out 3-1 winners, Chris Brunt, the West Bromwich Albion player, went over to his own fans to give a shirt to support and just to thank them for turning up. To which, from it's reported, a young fan, but that's only what reports I've read, threw a coin and basically cut just under his eye. Now you see and hear about these incidents, Colin, in football, but very rarely it's from your own fans.
Yeah, and you know what? It was a good game, and Reading's comeback was fantastic in that game. And it's really disappointing. I mean, every once in a while we've had issues here in the U.S. I remember a few years ago, there was a big deal at the football stadium near us. They were throwing batteries on the field. And we issues. Yeah, I know. And we've had issues with, we can't have there's no more bottle caps on the top of bottles in stadiums because people were throwing those. And it's really, it's embarrassing at your own, that your own fans do that. I hope he's okay. I hope there's no real damage. I mean, to get close to your eye like that is always dicey. Yeah, you expect your own fans to be better. I understand it's frustrating, and I understand it's disappointing to lose, especially to a team, from the tier below you. But, at the end of the day, you got to kind of grow up a little here.
I think growing up is definitely one thing to suggest to them. It's shocking that happens. Absolutely shocking. The other games from Saturday were quite dull. Arsenal, Hull, because they played each other the last 2 years in a row, one of them being 2014 final, there was obviously a lot of attention on the game, and the game didn't live up to it. Alexis Sanchez came on to try to spur Arsenal on, and he was poor again. In the build-up, Jack Wilshere was in the studio over in England, the commentary in England, Colin. It was quite nice to hear, and he was talking about his injuries, and he is injured a lot of the time. And the talk was how most of them are impact injuries. And I was quite surprised. I genuinely thought a lot of them were thigh strains, calf strains, etc.
Yeah, that is an interesting piece. He's a guy that you kind of always root for, that you wish he'd be able to get it together. Maybe based on that, he needs to kind of tone down the physicality a little bit. But playing in the EPL, it's going to be hard. My take on that game, I agree. It was, I got up and caught the second half of it. Hull's goaltender deserves some recognition. He did play very, very well. And I think he was predominantly the reason that they got out of there for the replay. Sanchez is an interesting point, because my take on it when you watched is when he came on, how disconnected he looked from the rest of that squad. He looked like it was the first time he'd showed up to play with them in a long while. He was on an entirely different page. And I don't understand if, maybe his mind was somewhere else. Maybe he was annoyed he was, rested to start it, because I know he's particularly bothered by not always being starting, every single game. But he just looked so out of sorts and disconnected from everybody else on that pitch.
Well, I think I can understand that he wants to play every game, but I think he's just in a bad run of form. The problem is, when he's in a bad run of form, he just looks like he doesn't give monkeys. And I think that's one of the biggest problems. Going on to Sunday's fixtures, Blackburn 1, West Ham 5. 7,000 West Ham fans travelled up to watch the game in Blackburn. Fantastic away following, and definitely they were treated to a good game. They went 1-0 down in that, so to come back and win 5-1 is outstanding.
I would define West Ham as my feel-good story of this year's Premier League. Between the FA Cup and that one, between the league, they seem to be turning a corner, and something's going right in West Ham. Are they going to set the league on fire and win it? No, I don't think that's them. But the good kind of things are happening with West Ham, and I think there's an encouraging story to watch there.
And especially when you got the likes of Payet, who there was all that talk, he's after the money, is he gonna leave soon, etc. After he scored, he made it very apparent the way he signalled to the West Ham fans he's happy, ran over to hug the manager. That's always a statement. They don't do that just for the fun of it. Tottenham going out to Crystal Palace was a surprise, 1-0. Crystal Palace in their recent form and Tottenham in their recent form. I don't think anybody saw this. I think this is what you call a coupon buster, Colin.
I don't know. I was thinking a little bit about it, and I'm actually going to say on the face of it, I'm not that surprised, because I think Pochettino needs to dump fixtures. So if you want my take on it, I think Tottenham, they had a great battle against Fiorentina and have a legitimate shot of getting into the next round of the Europa League. And I think, given their form in the Premier League, they have a legitimate conversation, if they can keep it up, to push themselves up to be in the title conversation. So I think this was Pochettino looking at how to dump fixtures and get out of the FA Cup before that became a bigger congestion problem than he's already got.
Annoying if that's true, but also understandable. I wish people would take the FA Cup serious, but I do understand the UEFA Cup, which I know a lot of people criticise. I really like. I think it's had some really interesting fixtures this week. It's a really good competition. I think the biggest shock was Manchester City throwing out a youth team and losing 5-1 to Chelsea. 5-1, two big clubs. Can you say it's a statement from Chelsea?
No, I think Chelsea's recognized. I think Gus Finnick and Chelsea have realized that if they're going to do something to salvage the season and at least compete in Europe next year, the only way they're going to do it is to win the FA Cup. So I think they're not going to take any match, for granted.
Champions League.
FA Cup doesn't go to Champions League.
I know, but I mean Chelsea could win the Champions League.
Yeah, but they could win the Champions League. But I think I don't really think they're going to win the Champions League. I think their most realistic shot of going back in it is to go in through the FA Cup.
Yeah.
I think in all seriousness, I think that's the most legitimate chance they're going back into Europe.
And do you know what, Colin? I think Chelsea in the Europa League, they could win it. They won it only a few years ago. They could win that if they do go into it through the FA Cup.
Oh, absolutely. I think they could be an absolute force. I think they could do what Man United should have been able to do this year, and really push that competition. So that being said, I'm not surprised they took it full force seriously. I think Man City is in the same place that we just described Tottenham as, except I think they see the Champions League and the league, especially the Champions League, as a real achievable goal this year. So I think they were looking to I think they were looking to rest guys and dump fixtures. And being out, I don't think they're going to complain a whole lot about.
Well, I think unless you play Football Manager, you've not heard of half the players who City put out. So in goal they had Cabello. He is dreadful, literally dreadful. I think he's about 35 now, and he looks about 45, 50 the way he plays in goal. Zabaleta right back. Adebayo and Demichelis and Kolarov make up the back four. Garcia, Alonso, Garcia, Serrano, Fernando and Selena in midfield. I promise you that's the real midfield. Iheanacho and Fapala up top. Yes, Colin, I think that's a statement. They're focusing on the Dynamo Kiev game this week. I
think going into the season, knowing what they were really questing after, that's not a big surprise.
No. I think one thing I want to ask you is, what are your thoughts on Ivanovic playing centre midfield? From all the reports coming out, he looked a lot more comfortable there, and obviously played there midweek as well. He did get rolled by Cavani midweek a bit too easy, but apart from that, he's had a lot of praise for his central defence positioning, especially Azpilicueta right back as well. Reports are saying that he looked and just felt a lot more comfortable.
Yeah, it's a deal. I think they're doing a lot of moving around to see how to get the pieces to line up better. So it'll be interesting to see. I'm a little disappointed. I think Hinnick would be a good choice to keep at Chelsea long term there. But it's a shame it's a shame he doesn't want to stay. I think he's done what Mourinho hadn't been able to do. He's really stabilized them. I think he's moving pieces around to see how they all work and where they all work, but he's really stabilized what has potentially been an ugly affair there.
I think it's definitely going to be interesting to see where he actually ends up going. Genuinely going to be... who ends up coming into Chelsea. Really, really curious, because there's so many different names bouncing around. There's also reports now that Mourinho could end up going back to Inter Milan, which is interesting to think he's going to go back again to another club. Really, really curious to see exactly where certain managers are going to end up going this summer and this end of season. There's just there's so much up in the air. You can't even predict now anymore where people are going to end up.
Very busy podcasts in May and June talking about what's going on.
Good. Cover for the lack of league action around the world. One thing I would say is, obviously we've got all the likes of the Scandinavian leagues, the Norwegian league will be covering a lot, the MLS and stuff, but they all still stop for a summer break. So during there we will be obviously discussing certain things like transfers, like manager movements. A league you like to follow, which is the French league, Colin, PSG within 10 points of winning the title, and it's only February.
Yeah, I don't fault PSG. I'm very disappointed in the rest of League One in France there for their performance this year. I think Marseille, Lyon, Monaco, there's a lot of teams that need to take a good hard look at themselves. PSG have proven and shown that they're not entirely invincible. They've been pushed around quite a bit, but nobody seems to be able to kind of knock them over the edge. But I think a lot of squads in Liga need to take a serious, deep look at themselves and get their act together for next year.
Well, I think that's a very damning response, Colin. You just basically destroyed some of the League One clubs. But fair play, it is February and PSG have even sewn up the league title. It's like watching the Spanish league. But I think what I wanted to just discuss quickly was coming up this week. You've got Arsenal hosting Barcelona, which is happening on Tuesday the 23rd, Colin. Can you see any way of Arsenal going through with the front three that Barcelona have?
If Arsenal plays the same way they played Bayern at home in the group stages, I think Arsenal could be going to the Camp Nou with a very, very strong position. It'll be a dynamite and difficult game there, but I think Arsenal, if they could play the same way they played Bayern and blank them at home, play a really good counterattack, I suspect that they could go to the Camp Nou in a good position with, where one away goal would put them through. And we saw in Monaco, we've seen them in a couple of times that if they're in a decent position and they need that, one away goal, but they can afford to lose a game on the road in a really tough one, they become a very, very dangerous team. So I think tomorrow defines everything for them. If they go in, Barcelona batters them around at the Emirates, it's over. It's just a formality. But if they get the counter right, they play like a good, solid, tight unit. They get out of there 1-0, 2-0, with a really efficient counter, because Barcelona does have vulnerabilities in the back. They've shown in and out in the league that they are not the all-powerful, all-dominant force that they have been. They've been rickety. Arsenal plays it right, and they get a few in, get one or two in. I think this is going to be a really, really wild tie.
Definitely. I'm so excited to watch it tomorrow night. I think we're going to end on a topic which I'm very happy and excited to actually mention. Gary Neville picking up his third straight victory after beating Espanyol 2-1. And they then battered Rapid Vienna 6-0 in the Europa League. Then they got Sunday's victory over Granada 2-1. 3 victories in a row. Gary Neville has said from day one, the players were doing what he wanted on the training field. They were learning, they were developing, and in time it would come good. And it's, again, as he did as a pundit, people respect him. It's starting to turn around for him as a manager. Is his point being proven? It is coming good, and he was correct all along.
I think the Rapid Vienna game is proof positive that something good's happening. Now, I will admit, I posed the question a bunch of times whether or not he should be sacked. Fair play to Valencia for holding on to him at this point. They're looking good. Now, the question is, can they keep it rolling for the rest of the season? I know there's been a lot of talk that with Rafa Benitez out there, does Gary go in the summer and they bring a club legend back? Let's see how the rest of the season goes. But I think the Vienna game, if you haven't seen it, go back and check it out. Check out highlights of it. Valencia looked like a different team than when he took over. They were sharp, they were clinical, they were aggressive, they were fierce. It was a top-notch performance, start to finish.
Definitely, and it's fantastic to see him. Hopefully it's one of many. I mean, if you get, people might say, 3 victories, not that much, but if he picks up another couple or gets 7 wins in 10, for example, it's a fantastic record. So if he just keeps progressing as he is, I think fingers crossed it can continue to go from better to better and better and better. But that's it for tonight's show. So I want to wish Colin good luck at the cinema.
Thank you much.
Hope you enjoy your evening. Thank you for joining us from your vehicle.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Beyond the Touchline, a Football Manager Central podcast with your hosts, Paul, Ryan, and Colin. We'll catch you next time.